Have you ever had the feeling that the universe was trying to tell you something? A fleeting thought that arises from nowhere, only to be confirmed moments later by an event in the world. An unlikely encounter. A word you desperately needed to hear, spoken by a stranger. A coincidence so mathematically precise, so emotionally resonant, that it made you stop, your breath catching in your throat, and think, this cannot just be a coincidence. Perhaps you felt a shiver, a profound internal silence, a sudden, piercing awareness, as if for a brief moment something unseen was watching you, as if the very fabric of reality had bent, just for an instant, to deliver a message intended only for you. This experience is not a sign of madness. It has a name. The great psychiatrist and scientist of the soul, Carl Gustav Jung, called it synchronicity. And no, this is not a retreat into cheap superstition or empty spirituality. Jung was a clinical empiricist. He believed that at certain critical moments in our lives, our inner world of thought and feeling, the psyche, aligns with the external world of events so precisely, so symbolically, that it defies all explanation by logic or statistics alone. In those moments, he argued, something far deeper is at play. The unconscious is trying to emerge. It is trying to guide you. And if you ignore its gentle whisper, that call will inevitably come back stronger, more unsettling, more impossible to ignore. What you are experiencing may not be a random error in the machinery of fate. It is more likely a direct message from your own psyche, a symbolic reflection of your pain, your confusion, your moment of profound transition. Synchronicity, Jung observed, almost always appears when you are standing on the brink of something important, when you are lost, or when a part of you is about to die so another can be born. And I know that no one in your life has taught you how to navigate this. Most will dismiss your experience with a comforting, rational explanation. They will call it paranoia, confirmation bias, a simple coincidence. But deep down in the place where your truest instincts reside, you feel that it isn't. You know that something touched a part of you that you can't explain, but also can't forget. This video, then, is a direct conversation with you. You who are going through this and do not know what it means. You who are seeing patterns that no one else sees, living moments that no one else can understand. You who feel that something is trying to emerge from the shadows of your life, knocking on the door of your awareness. In this video, I want to be the one who listens, who doesn't judge, who walks with you through this invisible territory where reason and mystery converge. Because maybe you are not going crazy. Maybe, for the very first time, you are truly waking up. If these words are already resonating with something deep inside you, then you are in the right place. I invite you to subscribe now so you don't miss the rest of our journey into this profound and essential topic. Your support allows us to continue these conversations. Chapter 1: The Theory That Defies Logic. Carl Jung did not believe in a universe of pure chance. For him, existence was much more than a random, meaningless sequence of disconnected events. He saw life as a living tapestry of symbols, archetypes, and deep, resonant patterns that intertwine between the objective, external world and the subjective, human psyche. Synchronicity is the visible stitch, the point of collision between these two worlds. But what exactly is synchronicity? Jung defined it as the simultaneous occurrence of two events that have no direct causal relationship. That is, one does not physically cause the other, but they share a profound and numinous symbolic meaning for the person experiencing them. In other words, they are meaningful coincidences. And most importantly, this meaning is not in the event itself, it is in the psychological impact it has on you. Imagine thinking intensely about a childhood friend you haven't spoken to in 20 years, and minutes later, receiving a message from that very person. Or dreaming of a strange, specific symbol, a blue butterfly, for example, and the next day, finding that exact symbol printed on the cover of a book that mysteriously falls at your feet. Science would call this chance. Jung would say, pay attention. For him, these moments are windows, small tears in the fabric of objective reality that allow something deeper, something from the unconscious, to manifest. Synchronicity arises when the psyche finds a way to mirror its inner state in the external world. It's as if reality itself is shaping itself to reveal something that your reason cannot grasp, but that your soul recognizes immediately with a jolt of recognition. And do not think that Jung arrived at this idea on a whim. He was a meticulous scholar of the unconscious. After decades of clinical analysis, deep research into ancient symbolism, alchemy, mythology, and even theoretical physics with Wolfgang Pauli, he encountered accounts that made no sense within the confines of Cartesian logic. Patients who had prophetic dreams, symbolic visions that coincided perfectly with real, unpredictable events, strange, inexplicable repetitions of names, numbers, and encounters. Chance could not account for the sheer precision and emotional weight of these occurrences. Statistics failed. The only plausible explanation, he concluded, was the existence of a hidden principle of order and a causal connecting principle, synchronicity. Chapter 2. When the universe answers. There are moments in life when everything seems to collapse, relationships crumble, career plans fail, our sense of meaning dissolves into mist. And it is precisely in these moments, when we are most vulnerable, most lost, with our rational minds exhausted and our hearts exposed, that synchronicity appears with its greatest force. But why? Jung believed that when the rigid structure of our conscious, rational mind weakens, whether due to trauma, existential crisis, grief, or a profound internal transformation, the unconscious begins to emerge to compensate. And it does not speak with the language of logic. It speaks with symbols, images, repetitions, and sometimes it speaks through the mouth of reality itself. Have you ever wondered why a certain encounter seemed to happen at the exact, perfect moment? As if that person, that phrase they uttered, that place you met, appeared as a living, breathing response to a question you didn't even know you were asking. For Jung, this is not a coincidence. It is a dialogue between your soul and the world. Synchronicity is that point of contact, where the invisible need of the psyche manifests in the visible world. The universe does not respond with logical explanations. It responds with mirrors. And these mirrors appear in the most unusual places. In a song that plays out of nowhere and says exactly what you needed to hear. In a word that seems to jump off the page of a book. In a symbol that repeats until you can no longer possibly ignore it. These experiences challenge our reason and call into question the modern idea that we live in a purely mechanical and indifferent world. But a word of caution. Synchronicity is not about seeing signs in everything. That way lies delusion and spiritual paranoia. The key is meaning. And meaning is something that is born within you, not outside. It is the emotional impact that event has on your psyche. It is what that symbol activates in you. If something touched you so deeply that it paralyzed you, forced you to reflect, changed your direction, or made you feel a truth you couldn't name, then it was not just a coincidence. It was a sign. Chapter 3. The unconscious wants to talk. You are not in control. This is one of the hardest truths for the modern ego to accept, and one of the most liberating when it is finally understood. Most of what you feel, think, desire, and fear does not arise from your conscious, rational will. It comes from a deeper, older, quieter, and far wiser place, the unconscious. And when you insist on ignoring it, it finds ways to get your attention, sometimes through dreams, other times through pain and neurosis. But there are moments when it speaks directly through the world. And this is called synchronicity. Jung understood the unconscious not as a dark cellar of repressed memories, but as a living, creative, symbolic system. An autonomous core of intelligence within you, carrying not only your personal wounds and traumas, but also your true vocation, your hidden potentials, your archetypal paths of transformation. And when your external life begins to disconnect from what this deeper self wants to show you, signs emerge. Small shocks of reality that force you to stop, look, and question. You might even try to ignore it, to rationalize it, to tell yourself it was just a strange coincidence. But the discomfort lingers. The feeling that there's something there remains. It's the unconscious poking at you like an internal therapist, knocking on the door of your consciousness and saying, "You are not listening, so now I am going to show you." And it shows you. It shows you in the form of encounters that change everything. It shows you in repetitions that defy all logic. It shows you in symbols that appear at the most critical moments of your life. These manifestations do not follow the logic of the intellect. They follow the logic of the soul. They are symbolic expressions, and therefore require intuition and sensitivity to be understood. The rational mind wants direct answers. It wants proof. It wants control. The unconscious offers metaphors, myths, and signs. It does not want to give you a ready-made answer. It wants to transform you. And synchronicity is the invitation to that transformation. Chapter 4. How to interpret the signs. Seeing a sign is one thing. Understanding it is something completely different. How many times have you felt that strange, numinous sensation in the face of a coincidence, but didn't know what to do with it? The mind stirs. The heart races. You feel there is something there, but clarity is lacking. This is where most people get lost. Carl Jung taught that synchronicity cannot be understood with common logic. It requires a new form of perception, symbolic, intuitive, and deeply personal. Interpreting a synchronistic event is like interpreting a dream. What happened objectively is not as important as the subjective effect it had on you. The symbol touches your soul because it reveals something your consciousness has not yet seen. The first step is to observe without judgment. When something strange or significant happens, resist the urge to seek immediate, rational explanations. Just take note. Write it down in a journal. Reflect on it. Ask yourself, what was I thinking or feeling right before this happened? What feeling arose in me at that moment? Is this part of a recurring pattern? The second step is to contextualize. What phase of life are you in? Are you facing a conflict, a difficult decision, a process of grief, change, or spiritual awakening? Synchronicity almost always appears in moments of psychic transition, when the old self no longer serves, but the new self has not yet been born. It is in this liminal symbolic space that the unconscious manifests most powerfully. The third step is to amplify through archetypes. For example, if you start to constantly see images of snakes, don't think only in literal terms. The snake, for Jung, is a powerful archetype of renewal, transformation, and the cycle of death and rebirth. It embodies the energy of healing, danger, and wisdom. A symbol carries multiple layers, and each one may be saying something specific about you at this moment. But be careful. Interpreting symbols requires brutal honesty with oneself. The unconscious is not concerned with pleasing your ego. It wants you to evolve. And for that reason, the message it sends often comes in the form of discomfort, confusion, or fear, precisely because it is touching a wound that needs to be seen. True synchronicity does not confirm your ego's desires. It reveals the soul's truth. Conclusion: you did not arrive here by chance. If this video has resonated with you, if you have recognized experiences you've lived through, strange coincidences, significant encounters, signs that seem to chase you, then you are already living your own journey of synchronicity. And this is not a small thing. It is a calling. Carl Jung taught that synchronicity is the way the unconscious pushes you toward the path of individuation, the lifelong process of becoming who you truly are. But this process is not comfortable. It requires you to let go of easy certainties, ready-made answers, and the predictable paths laid out for you by others. Because what is at stake here is not understanding the world, it is understanding yourself. Synchronicity appears when you are on the brink of an internal transition. If you ignore this calling, it will return, and it will come back stronger. Because life will not stop trying to wake you up. You can choose to go back to sleep. Pretend it was just a coincidence. But you know that this won't work for long. The soul demands to be heard. Or you can accept the invitation. You can enter the symbolic forest. You can follow the traces of the unconscious. You can ask yourself with brutal honesty, what am I avoiding? What within me is asking to be born? Which part of my identity is ready to die? Because that is what synchronicity wants. It wants to transform you. It doesn't come to confirm what you already know. It comes to remind you of what you have forgotten. As Carl Gustav Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Synchronicity is the moment when the universe whispers, you are ready. And now I ask you, are you? If you have ever experienced a synchronicity, something you can't explain, but that changed the way you see your life, please share it in the comments. Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to read right now, to feel less alone on their own journey. And if this video has touched you in any way, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. This is just the beginning. The journey that started here is far from over.